deep, serious, and authoritative tone. Speak slowly and deliberately, as if revealing a profound secret. Emphasize key dates and astronomical terms like precession of the equinoxes and Younger Dryas. Maintain a sense of awe and mystery throughout the narration. History, as you know it, is built on a lie. It's a comfortable story we're told from our earliest school days. You can picture the textbook page, a grainy photo of a clay tablet covered in wedge-shaped marks. We're taught that the first writers, the Sumerians, sat in the Mesopotamian sun, etching myths and king lists into wet clay, a quaint, dusty beginning to civilization. We see them cataloging grain, writing poems, recording the names of forgotten rulers. It all seems so simple, so foundational. But what if that's only the surface layer? What if the most important tablets weren't about history at all? Imagine holding one of those tablets. Feel the rough, fired earth in your hands, the weight of 6,000 years. Now, imagine that the marks aren't just an inventory or a poem. What if they're a user's manual, a desperate guide to survival, left behind by the last people who watched the sky fall and the world end? They weren't writing for their contemporaries, they were writing for us. It's not a history book. It's the black box recorder from a civilization that crashed. They left us a warning, but they couldn't just write it down. Languages die, empires crumble to dust. They had to use something permanent, something universal. So they wrote it in the language of the stars, the precise movements of the planets, the slow, cyclical dance of the constellations. That was their alphabet. That was their clock. Their message isn't just a record of a past catastrophe, a vague myth of a great flood. It's a set of celestial coordinates, a timetable. It tells us with terrifying precision not just what happened to them, but exactly when the conditions will be right for it to happen again. The code they left behind isn't a story, it's a countdown.
This is tablet K8538, housed in the British Museum. For over a century, it was dismissed as an astrological chart, a piece of ancient superstition. Scholars called it a planisphere, a star map. They were half right. It is a map, but not of the stars as they saw them every night. It's a snapshot, a single terrifying moment frozen in clay for 5,000 years. The moment the sky fell. The tablet records the path of an object moving through the constellations, an object that wasn't a star or a planet they knew. Its trajectory, its behavior, it was an intruder. And the Sumerians tracked it with an accuracy we've only recently been able to verify. If you want to understand what's coming, you have to look closer at what they were showing us. And if this kind of hidden history is what you're here for, make sure you subscribe. You won't find this in any textbook. Two scientists, Alan Bond and Mark Hempsell, fed the data from that tablet into a computer. They simulated the sky over Mesopotamia thousands of years ago. What they found was staggering. The tablet describes, with chilling precision, the approach of a mile-wide asteroid. It details its path on a specific date, the 29th of June, 3123 BC. The computer model showed the asteroid didn't strike the Earth directly. It clipped the atmosphere at a low angle, exploding with the force of thousands of nuclear bombs over the Austrian Alps. The event, known today as the Kofels impact, created a landslide 5 kilometers wide and 500 meters thick. It wasn't a myth, it was an observation. A geological scar on our planet matches a 5,000-year-old clay tablet. This wasn't astrology, this was astronomy of the highest order, used for the most serious purpose imaginable: defense. But how? How could a supposedly Bronze Age civilization have such advanced knowledge? The answer is simple. They didn't discover it. They inherited it. To find the source, we have to go back further, to a time before the Sumerians, before writing, before cities. We have to go to a place called Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey. Dated to nearly 12,000 years ago, it's the oldest temple in the world. But it's not a temple, it's a machine. An astronomical observatory built with a singular purpose: to track the sky, and specifically to track the source of the destruction its builders had just survived.
The people who built Göbekli Tepe were the survivors of a global cataclysm. We call it the Younger Dryas, an event 12,800 years ago, where the Earth was suddenly plunged back into a brutal ice age. For decades, the cause was a mystery, but the evidence is now overwhelming. Our planet was hit by fragments of a disintegrating giant comet. The impacts on the North American ice sheet triggered unimaginable floods, continent-spanning wildfires, and a nuclear winter that lasted over 1,000 years. This was the Great Flood of myth. It wasn't a regional event, it was a planetary reset. And the survivors, the ones who crawled out of the darkness, had one mission: never let it happen again. They encoded their knowledge of the sky, the source of the threat, into stone. Look at Pillar 43, the famous vulture stone. It's not a random collection of animal pictures. It's a date stamp. The animals are constellations. The scorpion is Scorpio. The bird is Sagittarius. The headless man represents the devastating loss of life. The symbols mark a precise date in the sky, using the language of precession, the slow wobble of the Earth's axis. The date it marks is approximately 10,950 BC, the exact time of the Younger Dryas impact. The builders of Göbekli Tepe weren't primitive hunter-gatherers. They were the inheritors of a sophisticated astronomical science from a civilization that was wiped from the face of the Earth, a civilization before our own. So what was this threat they were tracking? It wasn't a single rogue asteroid. It was something far more terrifying and predictable: a river of debris in space. Modern astronomers call it the Taurid meteor stream. It's what's left of a truly enormous comet that entered our solar system tens of thousands of years ago and was shattered by Jupiter's gravity. Our planet passes through this stream twice a year. Most of the time, we just get a pretty meteor shower. But sometimes we pass through the core of the stream, a dense cluster of city-killing asteroids and cometary fragments. The Younger Dryas impact was one such encounter. The Kofalzamit, recorded by the Sumerians, was another. They understood this cycle. They knew the cosmic serpent would bite again.
This is the key to decoding their entire civilization. Their gods weren't supernatural beings, they were personifications of celestial forces. Anu, the king of the gods, wasn't a person, he was the unchanging pole star, the center of the celestial clock. Enlil, the god of storms and destruction, was the Taurid meteor stream itself, a chaotic, violent force that could appear in the sky and bring ruin. The myths of battles in the heavens weren't just stories. They were observational records of cosmic events passed down through generations. The ziggurats, their massive temples, weren't just for worship. They were observatories, built to give their priest astronomers the best possible view of the sky, to track Enlil, and to calculate his return. The code they left us is a code of time. They understood the great cycle of our planet, the precession of the equinoxes. This 25,920-year cycle, often called the Great Year, was their master clock. They knew that at specific points in this grand cycle, Earth's orbit would align perfectly with the densest parts of the torrid debris stream. They even had a name for this period of risk, the SAR. To them, it wasn't a matter of if the sky would fall, but when. Their entire society, their religion, their science, it was all geared towards predicting that when. They were trying to calculate the timing of the next reset. Consider the Sumerian king list. It's another artifact that baffles mainstream historians. It lists kings who reigned for tens of thousands of years. Impossible, right? But what if those numbers aren't measuring human lifespans? What if they are astronomical counts? What if they are counting cycles? Perhaps the 3,600-year SAR cycle some researchers have proposed. The list explicitly states that these kings ruled before the flood. It's a record from the previous age, from the civilization that handed down its knowledge to the survivors at Göbekli Tepe, who in turn passed it to the Sumerians. It's another piece of the survival manual, a fragment of the code detailing the long-term rhythm of catastrophe. And the Sumerians weren't the only ones who knew. This knowledge, this warning, echoes across nearly every ancient culture. The Egyptians spoke of the destroyer god Apep, the great serpent of the underworld who battled the sun god Ra. The Norse predicted Ragnarok, a time of cosmic winter and destruction from the sky. The Hopi have prophecies of the blue star Kachina, a celestial sign that will mark the end of the world. The Hindu Yuga cycle describes vast ages of time ending in cataclysm and rebirth. These aren't separate, independent myths. They are the dialects of a single, ancient message, a message that originated from a common source, the survivors of the last reset.
So, let's assemble the code. It's not a written prophecy. It's a set of interlocking astronomical and mathematical principles. Step 1. Understand the Great Year, the 26,000-year precessional clock. Step 2. Identify the threat, the torrid meteor stream and its orbital period. Step 3. Correlate the two. Find the points in the Great Year when Earth's passage through the torrids is most dangerous. The monuments at Göbekli Tepe and the ziggurats of Sumer were the hardware. The astronomical observations were the data input. The myths and king lists were the encrypted files. The entire civilization was a computer running a single program. Calculate the next impact date. For a long time, this was considered fringe theory. But science is catching up. Astronomers now recognize the torrid stream as the most significant threat to our planet. In recent years, they've found massive, dormant cometary nuclei and asteroids hiding within the stream's core. Objects large enough to cause an extinction-level event. The Tunguska event of 1908, which flattened over 2,000 square kilometers of Siberian forest, is now widely believed to have been caused by a fragment from this stream. The ancients weren't paranoid. They were paying attention. This brings us to the most chilling part of the code. Where are we now in this great cycle? Many researchers who study precession and ancient astronomical alignments
believe we are entering the same celestial window that was opened 13,000 years ago during the Younger Dryas. Our solar system is moving through a denser part of the galaxy, and our planet's orbit is once again intersecting with the core of the torrid debris. The increased number of fireballs and meteor sightings worldwide isn't just your imagination, it's a symptom. The clock is ticking. The civilization before ours saw this coming. They built systems to observe it and left a warning for the future. But knowledge is fragile. A cataclysm doesn't just destroy cities, it destroys information. It breaks the chain of transmission. The survivors are too busy staying alive to maintain complex astronomical science. Over generations, precise knowledge degrades into myth and legend. The god Enlil becomes a story about a grumpy deity, not a warning about a meteor stream. The vulture stone becomes a curious carving, not a celestial date stamp. Humanity forgot. We had to start over, slowly rediscovering the laws of physics and the nature of the cosmos that our ancestors already knew. And that is our greatest weakness. We are a civilization with amnesia. We believe we are the pinnacle of creation, that our technology makes us invincible. We look at the past with arrogance, dismissing ancient people as primitive and superstitious. We've built a complex, interconnected global society that is incredibly brittle. A significant impact event wouldn't just be a physical disaster, it would collapse our power grids, our communication networks, our supply chains, everything. We are arguably more vulnerable to a reset than the hunter-gatherers of Göbekli Tepe were. So we return to the clay tablet. It's not just a record of a single event in 3123 BC. It's a demonstration of a method. It's the Sumerians saying, this is how you do it. This is how you watch the sky. This is what you look for. We inherited this knowledge, and now we pass it to you. They were trying to re-establish the system that was lost. The Planetary Defense Initiative started by the survivors of the Younger Dryas. They were rebooting the program. Today, we are finally relearning the language. Our space agencies, our astronomers, they are the new priest astronomers. Programs like NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office are in essence rebuilding the very system the builders of Göbekli Tepe created. We are mapping near-Earth objects, calculating their orbits, and developing strategies to deflect potential impactors. We are, without even realizing it, fulfilling the primary directive of that lost ancient civilization. Watch the skies. The code left by our ancestors is not a mystical prophecy of doom. It is something far more potent. It is a warning based on celestial mechanics and probability. It's a lesson in the physics of our solar system. It tells us that we live in a cosmic shooting gallery, and that our planet has been through these cycles of destruction before. It tells us that stability is a temporary illusion. The universe is not a benign, peaceful place. It is a dynamic and often violent system. Ignoring this reality is not an option. We stand at a critical juncture. For the first time in history, we have the technological means to both understand this ancient warning and do something about it. We can continue to ignore the message, to dismiss the wisdom of our ancestors, and walk blindly into the next cyclical catastrophe. Or we can accept the responsibility they tried to hand us. We can become the first generation to break the cycle. We can become the guardians of our own planet, the masters of our own destiny. The civilization before us didn't just leave a warning. They left us an inheritance, a legacy of resilience. They survived the end of the world and spent the next several thousand years trying to make sure we would too. The evidence is carved in stone, it's baked in clay, and it's written in the stars. We owe it to them and to ourselves to finally read it, to understand that the past is not dead. It's not even past. It's a blueprint for the future. The code has been deciphered. The clock is ticking. The warning, delivered across 12,000 years of human history, is on the table. The only question left is, what will we do with it? Will we be the civilization that finally listened? Or will we be just another layer in the sediment, another lost world for a future civilization to puzzle over? The choice is ours. What do you think is the most compelling piece of evidence for this ancient warning? The astronomical alignments of Göbekli Tepe, the Sumerian tablets, or the geological data from the Younger Dryas? Let me know in the comments below.